And a day after the Alaska summit, outlines have emerged of peace proposals discussed by Russia's Vladimir Putin and his U.S. counterpart, Donald Trump. Now, according to reports which cited official sources, Russia proposed relinquishing tiny pockets of occupied Ukraine, and in return, Kiev would cede swathes of its eastern land, which Moscow has been unable to capture. Trump had confirmed in an interview with Fox News that he and Putin discussed land transfers along with security guarantees for Ukraine and had largely agreed. Sources said under the proposed Russian deal, Kiev would fully withdraw from the eastern Donetsk and Luhansk regions in return for a Russian pledge to freeze the front lines in the southern regions of Kherson and Zaporizhia. Post-meeting with Putin, Trump briefed Zelensky and European leaders on his summit discussions. Trump said Ukraine should make a deal with Russia because Russia is very, very big and they're not.
Look, Russia's a very big power, and they're not. They're great soldiers, and they have great, but, you know, they also had the best equipment. You know, they had our equipment, and I gave them javelins, if you remember, in my first term. In fact, there was a statement, I gave javelins. You remember this?
Putin's offer ruled out a ceasefire until a comprehensive deal is reached, blocking a key demand of Zelensky, whose country is hit daily by Russian drones and ballistic missiles. Zelensky said Russia's refusal to accept a ceasefire was complicating efforts to end the war. He expressed skepticism about the future, pondering over the big question: how to get Russia to have the will to implement far greater peaceful coexistence with its neighbors for decades. Zelensky is due to travel to Washington on Monday to discuss with Trump a possible settlement of a full-scale war. Reports say European leaders are invited to come along with Zelensky. The French presidency, meanwhile, said the leaders of Britain, France, and Germany will host a video call on Sunday involving Kiev's allies in a coalition of the willing to discuss steps towards peace in Ukraine. Well, for more on this, we were earlier joined by Edward P. Joseph. He is a lecturer at the Johns Hopkins University and a foreign policy analyst. Here's what he had to say.
But you're right to point to security guarantees because those become all important here. Now, remember what seems to be on the table is that Ukraine has to cede territory in the Donbas region, Donetsk and Luhansk, that Russia doesn't even fully control. So that's part of the demand here, first of all. And second, all of these talks and negotiations take place while Russia continues to attack civilians. So that's a second point here. Then the third point, what does Ukraine get? Ukraine gets a promise that there will be a ceasefire elsewhere. In other words, you give up territory for the promise of a ceasefire elsewhere. Well, what does that mean? Is this permanent? Is this truly permanent? How will Ukraine be assured that Russia will not simply use this pause of a ceasefire to regroup and become even stronger and then take more territory and attack again? How can it be assured of that? And that's where this question of security guarantees comes in. Now, President Trump has said that President Putin has agreed to security guarantees. Really? Well, what are they? The ultimate guarantee, of course, is Ukraine's membership in NATO. That would provide the Article 5 guarantee. That's the one for all and all for one guarantee. Is that on the table? Presumably not. So what actually are the security guarantees? And we have to remember the context here. We have a United States led by President Trump that shows every indication by President Trump of a reluctance to actually stand up to President Putin and really show him that there are serious consequences for him continuing this war. Please.